Welcome to the first episode of In the Middle. I am your host, Kaylee, and today we're reflecting. We're reflecting on the last year, what it's done, what it's been like, and all of the in between. If you would have told me that a year ago I would even be sitting here doing this, I probably would have laughed at you because I have let the fear of striking out hold me back from doing everything that I've probably ever wanted to do in my life. When I think of who I was a year ago and who I am right now in this moment, I can't believe there was a version of me that was so sad. Didn't know what was up and down, left or right. Everything just seemed really chaotic. And to be honest, it's still chaotic and messy, but we find our way through it. A year ago, I couldn't get myself off a bar stool. I was making some really poor decisions. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know who was going to be there in the end. And if I'm being honest, if I would have died, I probably would have been okay with it at that point in my life. And today I'm so grateful that that's not the case. A few years ago, I went through a breakup, and really it's not considered a breakup because, I mean, they were cheating, so they knew what they were doing. And it was hard. We shared a life, we shared a home, we shared friends. I was trying to navigate life in a whole new realm, starting completely over. And I was like, this is my time to start over. And really all I was doing was the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I thought I had it figured out. I, had a home. I was safe. I had people in my life. But really I was still doing the same thing. I was going out every night that I wasn't working. I wasn't ever like going to bed. I was always passing out. I either had a ride home or I drove myself home. And the result of that is in February of 2025, I drove myself home. I was in no condition to drive. And I crashed my car into an I-beam. And I don't remember much, but I do remember that my dad and my nephew were the ones that found me and called 911. And I was arrested for aggravated DUI. I blew a .277 at the scene. And this is not something I'm proud of, but it's a part of the story. And it's a part of my story. And I think the only way through it is to talk about it. I don't remember much. I remember getting booked. I remember sitting in a holding cell just kind of thinking like, how the fuck did I get here? How is this my life? How is it that all of these bad things have happened to me and I'm the one in trouble? It's because I broke the law. I got out of jail. I didn't really know much more else of like what had happened. I had also hit another car before crashing my car. The next day I saw my car that I had worked really hard for, and it was in fucking pieces. I mean, the only part of the car that wasn't smashed was where I was sitting. And that has to be something bigger than me because I'm here to tell the tale. I had always wanted to get clean again, but I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I had a lot of shame. I'd been here before. I'd been clean before. Scared to walk into meetings again. Scared to see the same faces that had stayed and gone through worse and made it through the other side. And I reached out to some members and they met me at my first meeting back. And that's kind of where the journey begins. People were really happy to see me, and I was really happy to see them. something about that loving hug changes your heart. When I came back, I said I was going to do things completely different than I had done them before. And some things have been different, and some things seem to be repetitive. Um, there's, waiting to get sentenced and going through the process of that. I had gone to a meeting that I usually didn't go to, had never been to. And where I'm sitting, lo and behold, is like right in front of where the speaker is going to speak. I'm like, oh shit, people are going to see me. People are going to know I'm here. And in the door, late, walks in someone I hadn't seen in a very long time. And he had stayed clean and he had moved to Omaha and didn't have any idea where I was going to go. After the meeting, I beelined right up to him. Like, do you remember me? He did. Thank God he did. And I kind of told him like what was going on, what I had going on. And he asked me if I wanted to go eat after the meeting. Sure. Little did I know what would transpire later. We ate. We were there for an hour and a half. And when we were leaving, he was on his motorcycle and he had leftovers. And he was like, oh, you should bring them to my house. I was like, nah, I need to go home. I was so nervous. I didn't know what to do. I was new. I didn't know what was even happening in my own life, let alone like add a human to the mix. I didn't even know what it was going to be. And I ghosted him. And I have apologized immensely since for ghosting him. But I was scared. I was like, God, I don't want to hurt this guy. I don't want to bring him into my chaos, right? Because I have this ongoing court case. I don't know what's going to happen. But we're kind of just rolling with it. And after a period of like 2 weeks of ghosting him, I kind of just said, all right, we're not going to do that anymore. And a lot has happened since then. A lot has happened since then. With him and I, with my journey, where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing, a lot has transpired. And it hasn't been sunshine and rainbows. It's been messy. It's been hard. It's been hard for me. It's been hard for him. When he came into my life, I was definitely worried, because I come with a lot of baggage, especially at that point in my life. He's not a texter. I did find that out. And I'd like told him about my grandma being sick and how, she was on hospice and we didn't know how much longer she had. And he walked through that with me. He had just, lost his own grandmother. And I remember the day she died. I remember what I was doing when I found out. I remember texting him first. And I kind of just like escaped the day with my best friend Morgan. We went and got tattoos. We went and got like permanent jewelry. And I just kind of needed to escape like the day. Because I knew it was coming, but it still doesn't mean it doesn't hurt or that the pain is lessened because I knew it was going to happen. It still was a shock to the system. And I went to dinner with my family, and after that I went to an event and he was there. I said, hey, I'll see you soon. He had not read that message. And I showed up and we hung out, and then we left. We went and got coffee, went to a meeting, and went back to his place, and we talked. And we sat on the couch for a long time and we talked. And I stopped him mid talking to kiss him. Um, and I guess you could say that was it. That was kind of like the what are we gonna make of this? And he's stood by for a lot, and just kind of supported whatever decision I made, whatever needed to be done. He was there. Um, when we met, when we reconnected, I didn't have a lot of clean time. Um, and I mean, we knew, like, I was going through the ringer. I mean, I was going back to court, I was pleading guilty. Um, I had, taken care of some of the other legal things that were going on. I went into intensive outpatient treatment, um, started therapy. While we were together, I ended up on a continuous alcohol monitor to make sure I wasn't drinking. Um, and that span of time, like, it was like we just got through it. We just, whatever way we had to get through it, we got through it. And it's weird to reflect on it now because had so much shame behind getting this DUI and so much shame behind what all transpired that I was so scared of people finding out. And now it's like, if it helps one person, my story, how I got through it, what it was like versus what it's like now, then all that pain is worth it. All of what I've been through has been worth it if it can help somebody else in the end. Um, we obviously had started dating, and he was a trooper. He stuck by me for all of it. I got sentenced in July of 2025 to 18 months probation, lots of classes. I lost my license for a year. I've been driving with an ignition interlock in my car. And kind of just like making my way through, doing whatever it takes. Still in therapy, once a week. At that point, um, going through some, just, we're getting through life. And one of the biggest things I noticed when I was going through all of this is who wanted to be there. Like, there were people that wanted to be there, but I think because my life was in such a different spot, I didn't think that they would understand me getting clean, me not, being the life of the party anymore. And I really cared about those people. There were friendships I had to lose within the last year and let go of because they were detrimental to the process of healing, the process of getting where Kaylee needs to be for Kaylee, not for anybody else, not for the system, not for my relationship, not for anybody else, but for me. What I needed to do for me, and be selfish in that moment. And I probably could have done a better job of letting some people in, but those people were attached to a lot of pain at some point, and I can't put that all on them. Like, I have a part to play in it. I could have reached out more and been around more, but at the time, being around parties and chaos, and to be honest, my ex was just not in the cards for me. It wasn't safe for anybody, and it wasn't safe for me. And being able to make decisions like that is really hard. Like, you want to be around your people, but you also know that you're still really sick, and you can't put yourself in a situation that's harmful to you or to others. And when I think about it now, I really was just trying to protect myself and protect my friends. And some of those people I'm not even friends with, I'm not even close with anymore, and I have to be okay with that. And I have to understand that some relationships have their season, and their reason in your life, and sometimes they don't stay around, and we have to be okay with that. And it's gonna hurt, and it did, and it still does. Like, I would be lying if I sat here and said that it doesn't still hurt, because it does, because it's sad. It's a loss, and grieving the living is, for me, almost worse than grieving the dead. um and that was something I really struggled with a lot this year, was who's going to be around and who's going to care that I'm clean and that I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And they're maybe those people do care, but they didn't care enough to ask me if I was okay. They didn't care enough to offer me a hug. They just kind of stood by in the shadows. And something I've realized about myself is sometimes I do that too. I stand back in the shadows and wait for something to happen instead of going out and doing it myself, or the fear of doing it. But there's been so much opportunity for me since I've gotten clean, and there's been so much happening, and so many good things, but there's been a lot of bad things too. I mean, I fought for who I am now. I had to go through some mental health diagnosis that I knew were there but needed to be re-diagnosed. They needed to be reevaluated. And, there's a lot that's happened in between. I've gotten to do really cool things, and we'll get to that stuff. But I didn't grow up really in a household that talked about their feelings, or really took mental health. I don't want to say seriously, but took care of it. And that's not anyone's fault. That's not my parents' fault. That's not my siblings' fault. My parents were babies trying to raise babies. And, they did everything that they could with the resources that they had. I was re-diagnosed bipolar 2 with mania. And it was like a relief, but it was also, what do I do now? What that kind of looks like is brief periods of bursts of energy, periods of, depression, not wanting to get out of bed, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, lashing out, which seems to be a form of communication in my head. And that caused a lot of problems in my relationship. I mean, I took a lot of things out on him that were never meant or directed towards him. They just came out that way. And it's like my heart and my head couldn't talk to each other, and it just comes out, and then I forget about it. It didn't happen. I know that it did, but I just sweep it under the rug and forget about it. And because that's how past relationships of mine have gone, and that's kind of how I was raised, I just didn't really have a lot to say, and I didn't know how to communicate how I was feeling in that moment, or to not take it out on him, or let him be my partner, and work through it with me. And that caused us to take a break. We broke up at one point. And I moved out, and when we talked before I was moving, I understood. I understood why he had to make that decision for himself and to protect himself and what he's built, right? Because he's built a beautiful life, and I couldn't figure it out. I moved out 2 weeks before we were supposed to go to Florida for 11 days. We made the decision to still go on the trip together. We had a great time. But you could tell that there were still eggshells, and that there was still things we needed to talk about and discuss moving forward. And we had talked about therapy and going into it, and what that would look like. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Like anything is like, it's worth it. We're worth it. Like what we have is worth it. Like let's do whatever it takes, right? And we did, and we've been in therapy for 2 months now. And I can definitely say that like it's not an easy transition. I've been in therapy a lot, so I kind of knew what it was going to entail. It was new for him. It's still new for the both of us. But I think adding a person in there that can give us healthy coping skills and the tools that we may need, who can also deal with diagnoses and help us navigate that, has been really special. It's been really beautiful, and I wish more people would know that it's a tool to be helpful. It's not because maybe something bad happened and this is the route you took, but it's a tool there. And I'm really happy that we made the decision to utilize the tool that, was suggested. It's a lot. We've been through a lot. But I also had to realize he had to go through stuff individually, and I had to go through stuff. And sometimes I don't see how I've changed or my progress because I live in self and like I deal with me every day. So some days it's really hard for me to see like that active change in myself. But sitting here talking, scared out of my mind to do this is a huge step for me. Because I probably wouldn't have done this 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And I had sure as hell wasn't going to do this a year ago, cut into my drinking time, if I'm being honest. Like, I always knew I had a voice, and I always knew I wanted to help people, and I knew that I wanted to give perspective where perspective was needed. When I came back and got clean, I met a woman who I would later ask to sponsor me, and I am not a shining example of what recovery looks like. I have not utilized my sponsor the way that I should in the last year. And she knows that, I know that, we've talked about it. I had a really hard time coming back and making friends with women. Since in the last few months, I have definitely been more willing to open up to people and talk to people, because I used to say, like, why would I talk to these people? Like, everyone lets me down, and I'll have to give people grace and, give them the opportunity to help me, and maybe they will let me down. I don't know, but I have to give them a shot. I have to give people a shot. And I have to give myself a shot at letting these relationships form and grow over time. So it's definitely been new, right? Like, I am not gonna sit here and bullshit anybody. Like, I am a recovering addict who works in the service industry. I work around alcohol 5 days a week. It is my job. It is how I make my living. It is how I support myself and support my life. And many people may not agree with what I do, but here's the deal. If you don't think you can do it, don't do it. I have support. I have people who literally like back me 100% on doing what I do for work. And I think that's really special. I think where I work is really special. The people I work with are really special and support it. And that, I don't really talk about my work very much, mostly because I don't want to offend anybody. But I also know that there's people that do what I do for a living and also do not do drugs or drink alcohol. And they may need to know that they're not alone in it, because sometimes it can feel really lonely. It can feel like nobody else does it and you're just like supposed to hide. I don't have to hide anymore, like I thought I did. But, like moving forward, if you would have told me who I was a year ago, could sit in front of a camera, share the nitty gritty, and actually not have shame attached to it anymore, is insane, because I dogged myself for a really long time, told myself I wasn't worth it, that I couldn't do it, and I wasn't going to do it because it was going to fail. Like, it felt like everything I did just failed. And getting to be on the other side of the fear and seeing things come to fruition and watching how my life has unfolded. Granted, I still work the same job. I'm with the same person. You know, like, we made the decision to get back together and really work on our relationship, but also work on ourselves. And part of what that looks like is back in August, we had some like life stuff happen. And he kind of just looked at me and he was like, move to Florida? And I'm like, fuck, why not? Like, what do we got to lose? You know, like, we have no kids. We're not tied to anything here. You know, but I had this legal stuff hanging over my head. And that was scary. You know, when we broke up for that brief time, I told him, I said, with or without you, I'm going to Florida, because once I have my mind made up on something, like, I have to follow through. It's not like, once it's made up here, it's got to happen. And recently his condo just sold, and the decision that was made for us was, that works for us, right? Is he is going to move earlier than me and kind of get everything rolling and started there while I handle my legal things here. And I'll meet him down there later. And here's the deal. It works if we both are willing participants in our relationship. If we both decide to put in the work and make it work long distance, then it's going to work. Like, if we're both able and willing adults to go into therapy, to know going into therapy that this move was going to happen at some point, to know that the move is coming to fruition now, we can do it. Like, there's nothing in our way. 1,400 miles is in our way. Great thing we have telephones and video chat and all of the technology that we have. And we have supportive family. Like, his family is so supportive of the move. My parents are very supportive of the move. And not everyone has it that way, you know? So he is moving in April, and the hope is late fall for me. But, you know, like, whatever timing is convenient, and it's going to be okay. I had to start realizing that things are going to be okay, and that, like, even in the grand scheme of anything, like, what if it doesn't work out? It still works out. Like, you know, like, everything is meant the way it's supposed to be, when it's supposed to be. And I had to stop taking control of what the narrative looked like and just kind of be, and allow myself to feel it all. You know, we've been packing up his house, and like, each day that like something else gets packed or sold, and see the house get like not as much stuff in it, hits me different. It hits me in my feels, because it's just one more step of it being real. But thank God we are strong enough to make it out and make it work, because that's what we're willing to do. I always thought that my pain was mine and mine alone, that no one could understand. I was very wrong. There are many people that understand my pain. And if I can go through what I've been through and what I've been challenged with, and make it on the other side and be able to help someone else, whether it be 6 months from now or 5 years from now, and they hear my story and they hear how I got here, and it helps them get through and get another day clean, and to just make it just another day in life and show up for life. It makes all of the pain that I went through worth it, every single last bit of it. And I would do it again if it meant that someone else, I could help someone else, that someone else knew that they weren't alone, that they didn't have to go through it alone. I have thought my whole life I have to go through shit on my own because no one's going to understand and no one's going to care. And I'm not worth it. And when I stopped believing all of those things in my head and realized that everything I'm doing is worth it, even if I'm uncomfortable, even when I'm scared, if I can help one person, just one, then it made it all worth it. It made going through what I had to go through worth it. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. Like, I know people who have gone through worse and they've made it on the other side. And I honestly sometimes wonder about those people, because I'm going to tell you what, I did not handle my breakup before this 2 years ago well, because it wasn't a breakup. I was cheated on in my own home. You know, I had to move out. I had to figure it out. I stayed way longer than I should have. I don't blame him for where I'm at. Really what I should be doing is thanking him, because my new life is actually really fucking cool. And I don't have to sit in that anymore, and I don't have to be upset anymore. Like, I don't have to live with that anymore, and the guilt or the shame of, well, what did I do wrong? What made him do that? I don't have to live with any of that anymore, because I'm not a product of what happened to me. I want to be a product of what happens on the other side. And what happens on the other side is beautiful things I would have never thought I was going to do or create or be. And this is just the beginning of it. I don't have any idea where it goes beyond this. I have no idea. Hopefully it's out of Nebraska and Orlando, Florida. And if it keeps me aware, it keeps me accountable, it gives me something to look forward to, like, it's all going to work out. I just have to believe that everything's going to work out. Because I don't want to live in the negative anymore. And I've done that for a really long time. And I know that the other side looks pretty great. I don't know what's there, but I think it's going to be pretty great. And I don't know. I thought I would get a lot more emotional talking about this stuff, but I don't know. I guess processing it and being present in it, sitting in it, feeling it. I've cried over a lot of things in the last year. I don't know. That just makes it worth it. Like, sitting here uncomfortable is worth it, because I want to offer something to people that they may never have thought that they would get. I want to give perspective where perspective is needed, and show people that there is life outside of addiction. There is life outside of the pain of addiction. There's so much to look forward to. And if we just gave ourselves a little bit of grace and stood in it and allowed ourselves to be loved and let people love us till we can love ourselves, like, shit works out. I don't even recognize myself from a year ago, and I don't know if that's good or bad, or like reflection of where the year has gone, but I'm going to tell you, the year was met with some good, it was met with some bad, it was met with some messy and very chaotic, but we made it out on the other side. And it's just going to keep happening. Like, life keeps rolling. I just hope that I can continue to do what I'm doing right now and give insight and just help people like I've always wanted to do. Just help people. Life is really happening right in front of me every day. And I wish I wouldn't have been so scared to come back into a 12-step program. Like, I wish I wouldn't have been so scared to come back years ago, but I have to remember that everything happens in its time, and that where I'm at right now is where I'm supposed to be. What I'm going through is what I'm supposed to be going through. How I get through it is how I get through it. And I don't do it alone. And I've tried to do things alone for a really long time. And I know that I can't do it alone. Um, every time I've tried, I've landed on my ass or my face. And I just want to keep doing the next right thing and be present and be available to myself and to others and to not be so scared. I've been able to form some really cool relationships this last year, and I've also had to let some relationships go, and that happens. And being comfortable with the idea of that is something I've struggled with and wrestled with a lot in the last year. But who I am today is a product of everything that I've been through. And I know that it's going to be so much better than what it is right now. I mean, who knows what could happen next, but I'm excited to walk in it, to feel it, to know it, make friends with it, good or bad, and show myself some grace and let things happen the way that they need to happen. So with that, that's our first episode, and I hope you have a good day on purpose.